All right, welcome back to the Weekend Journal. News Talk 580 WTCM. Remember, you can find us on Facebook, hopefully later in the afternoon, if I can get it all done in time. Also on YouTube. Both of them, you can find Jack O'Malley's Weekend Journal. Of course, if you go to Facebook, hit the like button. If you go to YouTube, please hit the follow button, and then you'll be there with us. And I do appreciate that. All right, this is the Lansing update time. And, gosh, I'll just be honest with you. I have one of these days where hustling and bustling, and so it's kind of nice to just sit down and talk politics. Hey, one thing I do want to throw in here that has nothing to do with anything, but it does. I did a ride-along with a local law enforcement agency this week, and one of the questions I asked the deputy, I said, hey, when you go lights and sirens, people pretty good at getting out of the way? And he said they're terrible. Now, that's sad to hear. So I know I pull over. A lot of people do, but not enough. He told me in some cases he has to pass people, in the left lane because they won't move over. And they're going full speed. So, maybe they're just, I picked the wrong deputy to ask. But especially as summer picks up and there's a lot of traffic out there, please remember, lights and sirens, ambulances, fire trucks, police officers, get out of their way, because someday they may be heading to someone in your family, and you want them to get there in a timely fashion to help you. So please keep that in mind. All right, let's get back to Lansing, where the fun is. Okay, here's one. Might as well start out with one of the controversial ones. Representative James DeSanta introduced articles of impeachment against Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Now, some people are like, yes, that's the best thing in the world that's ever happened. Well, let me just say, the first article stating that repeatedly exceeded the scope of authority deregulated to her, or authority delegated to her by the Michigan statute. The second stating allegations pertaining to digital and paper, qualified voter files, et cetera, et cetera. DeSanta said in a press conference today that he doesn't have a promise from the speaker that the resolution would be taken up, but he said he has confidence in the grassroots and believes this is a strong issue for the House to consider. I'll tell you what, I will say that Benson is probably the most political Secretary of State that I can remember, right? But court after court after court has really stood behind things she did. There are some things she probably shouldn't have done, but, I don't know. So House Majority Floor Leader Brian Posthumus said he's not debating the substance of the resolution, but is concerned that such a move would help boost Benson's visibility and give her another reason to squawk and raise funds on. So just something to consider. I'm not a fan of it, but he has the right to introduce it. We'll see if they take it up. My hunch is they won't. Well, they're terrible, Jack. No, because if they do, the House, by its slim majority, does send it off to the Senate. It's a Democratic-run Senate. It ain't going anywhere. But we'll still be able to have it in the news. Benson and her foils have been in the news for months. If people aren't paying attention, it's out there. We talk about her all the time. I threw this one in just because we chatted with it last week with Beth LeBlanc. So Santa Ono is the prez at University of Michigan. He's probably a little too conservative for the liberal Board of Regents. So he leaves, and he's supposedly getting a job in Florida, where the head honchos there rejected him after he was basically said you can have the job. They rejected him. Why? Because he's too liberal for Florida. Too conservative for U of M, too liberal for Florida. Another update. Line 5. Federal regulators last week released a long-awaited draft that found that most of the environmental effects resulting from constructing of the tunnel for Line 5 would be temporary and tied almost exclusively to construction activities. Of course. The tunnel, the study found, would have a beneficial cumulative effect on reducing the risk of crude oil leaks from the pipeline. So another thing that I think is kind of interesting about this whole thing is at one point the Army Corps of Engineers said, well, we can build a tunnel, we can leave it as it is, or we can put like sand and rock and all kinds of things over it, but could still cause an anchor strike, et cetera, et cetera. They didn't like any of those. So that's why I contend the only reason you're against Line 5 is because you don't like oil. All right, another quick update here. Former Republican House Speaker Lee Chatfield and his wife face trial now on felony charges. Chatfield's case includes 13 counts. Wife Stephanie bound over on 2 felony charges. This is a tough one because Lee Chatfield, he was the speaker when I came in, and I'll tell you what, he's smart, he's charismatic, but man, I'll tell you, I do believe the young man knew how to party. And I think that may have gotten him into trouble. He's innocent until proven guilty. We'll see what happens, but it's sad to see. All right, a couple of Chinese notes here. You've probably heard by now that they confiscated some biological stuff from a couple of students at U of M, researchers at U of M. This stuff was some kind of bacteria that could kill crop. It's a toxin considered a terrorist type thing. So not a good day for the Chinese folks there. And then, of course, the kid who voted and was not a U.S. citizen, Chinese national, he surrendered his passport, but he had a second one, and no one knows who issued that to him. And he is gone. He is in the wind. And I'm assuming he's back in China. So we'll see. There is no extradition treaty between the U.S. and China. Okay, this is one that I think is just bad news, and I'll tell you why I think it's bad news. I've talked about ballot proposals. The part of the problem is the ballot proposal is written by the people who want it, which on one hand isn't a bad thing. The point is it's not vetted. Nobody can really come in and say, well, wait a minute here. If you do that, this is going to happen. That's just like, give me a lollipop. That's what I want, and that's what we're going to do. And then the reverse side of that coin is, unfortunately, voters don't necessarily, read the whole thing. Yeah, I want to smoke pot. Yeah, I want this. Yeah, I want that. And so they just vote for it, but they don't know what they're asking for. This is going to be an example, and I be honest with you, I hope they do not get enough signatures. A broad coalition of education groups are coming together with a ballot proposal designed to raise taxes on the state's wealthier residents and divert the estimated $4 billion in new revenue to schools. Of course, Jack, you want to help the rich. No. The Michigan Parents Association, the Attorneys Coalition, and the Michigan Education Justice Coalition are among the 30 groups that have signed on to this petition drive. The American Federation of Teachers and its Detroit local are on board, Mothering Justice, and a group known as Red Wine and Blue Michigan. In addition to asking the voters to raise more money, the initiative seeks to eliminate count days, those specific days each year when they find out how many kids are actually in the district. The coalition wants salaries for teachers, money earmarked for emotional health services, and the elimination of suspensions and expulsions in school replaced with peer-led practices. Standardized testing would also be wiped out. And they also would have students being eligible to run for school board. Oh, Katie by the door. Let's see, what else have we got here? The Detroit mayor's race is kind of an interesting one, too, because, Detroit's a big, big part of the state of Michigan. Detroit City Council President Mary Sheffield has a sizable advantage in the mayoral primary election, while a tight battle has emerged at least from 3 hopefuls for second place. Sheffield leading with 38%. Having double advantage over newcomer Reverend Solomon Kinlock Jr., 14%. They're followed by former police chief James Craig at 9%, and former city council president Santil Jenkins at 8%. And with that, current mayor, governor's candidate, Mayor Mike Dugan, his performance leading Detroit in the last decade, he has an approval rating of 84% in likely primary voters in August. 84%? Is he giving away cookies or something? Woo, doggy. Let's see, what else have we got here? Oh, all right. Michigan school districts are shrinking. None want to consolidate. Why not? K through 12 enrollment in public schools is declining amid lower birth rates in Michigan and policies that give parents more choice in where to send their kids. But rather than merge with neighbors, Michigan school districts are closing buildings and expanding programs. Experts say consolidation is hard for several reasons. Residents like the identity of their local schools. There are logistical challenges, etc. People value their local schools, sports teams, and mascots. They also appreciate feeling their community, and so on and so forth. Michigan has 800 school districts in 83 counties. That's a lot. And we do need to consolidate. I won't name any particular county, but there's a few that I can think of that have, 4 and in some cases 5 school districts, but the population is small, right? Consolidate them. Have a superintendent, you have offices, all that. You bring it all together. We really need to do that, but we'll see if it happens. It's a tough sell, that's for sure. Another reason our school population might be declining is I thought this was interesting. Michigan wants to grow its population, but more adults say no thanks to kids. This is from Bridge Magazine, or Bridge, Michigan now. That's just what everybody did. You just got married, you had kids. I don't hate children. It's just not the witch from Hansel and Gretel. It was never something I wanted. This was from a couple that don't have children. The couple is among the growing number of child-free adults, people who just don't want to have kids. The percentage of non-parents who never want kids more than doubled in 2 decades, going from 14% in 2002 to 29% in 23. This according to a Michigan State University study. Interesting. Okay, all right, let's see here. Check my time. I got a few more minutes. We can keep rolling here. So there was a bill passed, or it's in, I don't think it hit the floor yet, but it was in committee. There's a bill that would stop local governments from banning gas appliances and natural gas infrastructure, which prompted some Democrats on the House Energy Commission to squawk over local control issues. The bill would prohibit local governments from imposing a ban on the use of natural gas or the installation of natural gas infrastructure. As far as I know, there's only been one community, Ann Arbor, that tried it and it didn't work, but there are other states and things that have attempted to do it or maybe even passed it, so it's more of a preemptive bill. I would have to agree. Natural gas is plentiful and it's good stuff. Yeah, I saw that this is one of those Lansing or federal things that are bumping into Michigan, and I just give you my 2 cents on it. There was a headline that said, Whitmer, Trump's big beautiful bill could cost Michigan $900 million for food stamps. And, I just was thinking about it. This is how I see it. And I'm not saying anybody's wrong, because we just kind of slowly slide into things. I use the analogy of how do you boil a frog? You put them in the water and you slowly turn up the heat, right? So for years, things would happen and, the federal government would give us more money. The federal government would give us more money. And so, people take it. It's almost like a drug dealer getting people addicted to it, right? And where does that money come from? Nobody cares. Nobody thinks about it. Well, it's coming from the federal government. Well, first of all, anything from the federal government's coming from you and me, but that's where we got a $36 trillion debt. And think about this as your home. I know the cuts could be tough and they're not fun, but maybe we were spending way too much money. And now the credit card company is going to repossess, the car in the driveway. Just something to consider when you hear all this news about, they're cutting back here, they're cutting back there. What do you do when you have a $36 trillion debt? Something to think about. Okay. They are hoping to reopen the Grayling Juvenile Center. The Oversight Committee on Child Welfare took up testimony. Basically, this place in the Grayling area called Shawano was a youth detention area for more violent youth. And they had some problems there, and that DHHS basically closed it. And I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that whenever there's these places have problems, DHHS just closes them down. Well, they are going to open up a joint down in Midland or Macomb County. And the folks up in the north are saying, wait a minute, here, we were doing fine. We need these beds, and we need this. So we'll see. I also have been told that with all of this, the DHHS says, no, we're doing fine. We got enough beds. But I believe the number I heard was 115 juveniles housed out of state because there weren't enough beds here. And so now we're paying other states for that. So something to think about. Keep it in your radar. How much time we're going? The state representative, Gina Johnson, on Thursday announced a plan to create a medical alert system for missing seniors and vulnerable adults, much like the Amber Alert. Some folks are calling this the Silver Alert. My legislation ensures law enforcement can respond to this crisis swiftly and efficiently. Response efforts in the last few hours or someone goes missing. We hear it occasionally where someone with dementia or something wanders off. This Silver Alert, for lack of a better name, would be in place like an Amber Alert. It's being discussed, just an FYI. This is something I want to chat with. We've got Senator, we did. Taylor Swift bills, and we'll pass on that. Let's see here. Speaker Hall is suggesting that they do away with J-Car. You may have heard me talk about that. J-Car is where they're supposed to set up rules for all the departments and that sort of thing. And I'm under the impression it was under Governor Engler. I don't know for sure. But it was about that era that they softened J-Car because the governor wanted the departments to be able to do a little more stuff. And it has really hurt. And that's why Michigan has become so regulation heavy, because the departments can kind of do what they want. And that was because we softened J-Car. Well, the speaker wants to have a new House Rules Committee. And I want to get the chair of that committee on to talk about it, because this is one of those inside baseball under the thing. J-Car, what's that? J-Car, the reason we have so many regulations and so many fees and so many licenses because J-Car was weakened. And let me see if we can get him on. And any more? Let's see. That's all right. That's all right. Okay. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we've covered just about everything. Hey, I'll tell you what, it's been fun. Enjoy the weekend, most definitely. Next weekend is Father's Day. That's a pretty cool weekend, I gotta say. Oh, enjoy your week until we can gather once again to discuss politics. All right, have fun. Thanks for listening. Don't forget Facebook and YouTube, Jack O'Malley's Weekend Journal. Back next Saturday at 10 a.m. on News Talk 580. Take care.